Jails in the U.S. do not seem that difficult. I would love to see reform.
So I'm going to explain what 60 Days In is for a second. It is a show where people volunteer to go to jail for 2 months. Why? They all have different reasons. They can vary from, oh, my brother was in jail, I want to know what it was like. Oh, my dad's been in prison his whole life, I just want to feel closer to him. I've never been in any sort of trouble and I want to know what it's like. 2, the warden of this jail, this is season 1 of 60 Days In, the warden of this jail has said, hey, I have issues in my jail that I want to be fixed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send in 6 people who I then am going to put into my prison to let me know what is wrong and what I could do better. That is the premise of the show. Please come volunteer to be in jail for 2 months to let me know how to make it better. One of those people happens to be Robert. Of these 6 people, some people go in for the right reason. So they want to help the warden. Robert is not one of them. Robert is a substitute high school teacher who goes in because he thinks jail is too easy and he's going to prove that. So he has 2 months to sit around and go, oh, you guys have the NFL Network? And that's what we're going to focus on today. Listen, this show is not about cops. It's not even about COs. It's not about those people. It is about the people who volunteer to get in for whatever reason. And then half of them end up dropping out. Half of them end up dropping out. Half of them end up dropping out. Robert has to make it 2 months just to prove that jail is too easy. There's a level of respect as a person you just have to give to the world. Walking in and asking, you guys got the NFL Network? Yeah, I'm a pretty big guy. When you're like 112 pounds, a substitute teacher, and very, very unlikable, it's not it.
Shit is goofy as hell so much.
Immediately, Robert walks in.
You got the NFL Network here?
And people start talking about him. They call him goofy. They call him small. They ask themselves very quickly whether or not he's a cop. And the first thing Robert says, the very, very first thing the man says when he walks into jail, a place he has never been to, holding his bed, he goes, you guys got the NFL Network here? I don't know how somebody didn't just walk up and hit him. I would have.
It seems like
I've seen the entire season. I'm going to assume that a good amount of you people have as well. Robert is scared. He is. He just is. He's a little dude somewhere he's never been before. He has to kind of maintain his cover, which for himself is, oh, this is a country club. This is a vacation. I'm going to put my feet up. He has no sense of self-awareness and he doesn't know how other people think of him. So he doesn't know that if he does something weird, people are going to think he's weird. He doesn't get that. He thinks that if he acts really chill, that if he acts like he's big, that if he acts like he knows what he's doing, people are going to respect that. But people are not stupid. And treating them like they are is a really, really easy way to turn them against you. So Robert's story is he was driving on I-65. He got pulled over for running a stop sign and then arrested for an outstanding warrant. Remember that. This happens a lot on the show. As soon as you come in, people are like, oh, what did you get arrested for? And a lot of the times you have papers that say your name, fake name, what you were arrested for, things about you, and you have to stick to it because people just immediately are like, oh, he's a cop if you don't.
My story, I did not say it in such a manner which was believable. They're getting really suspicious of me.
When you're in the middle of the season, right, and you've met everyone and you kind of get to slide between all the different characters, it's easy to not just get stuck on being mad at Robert. I, however, cannot let go of a grudge. He's just an easy person to dislike. So Robert has this idea that he's so much bigger than the rest of them, but he's not.
I don't fear many of these guys.
And it's that idea that a lot of people have, the random people in life have, where they're like, oh, if I got in a fight, I'd be fine. And everyone thinks they're good at fighting. And then they get punched in the face and they're crying. And they can't breathe through their nose. And they're like, oh, what happened? You should probably be honest with yourself. And this is now at Robert. You don't have any sort of training. You're not in good shape. You're not a big dude. You look like you're 5'10", 160 maybe. You're small. You're a small guy and that's fine. But figure that out. If you act like you're a cop and they think you're a cop, they're going to do something about it. And you need to keep yourself safe. And he does it in the wrong way. There's a right way to just be like, oh, I'm in the wrong place. And so what he ends up doing is he throws the towel over the camera, which is something that no inmate is supposed to do. And they all get told this. If you cover a camera, you go into solitary. So he, sensing that everyone else thinks he's a cop, puts the towel over the camera. The warden pulls him out and he's like, dude, why? Why did you do that? Robert goes, I wanted them to think that I was one of them. They think I'm a cop. So if I cover the camera, they think I'm one of them. And the warden's like, no one thinks that. They all still think you're a cop. That's like the most cop thing you could have done. He also at some point starts like wearing his jumpsuit down because he's convinced that he's so much bigger than everyone else that if they see his arms, they're going to get scared and they won't do anything.
I think Bible study in jail is one wonderforful thing.
I don't forget child.
Where did this even come from? Like, nobody brings that up. He brings that up. He's like, oh, I don't. Where did that come from, Robert? He then goes on to like, in their prayer circle where they're all holding hands, Robert refuses to hold anybody's hands. He goes, I'm just going to stay like this. Whatever, not my business. Then he stops the final prayer to go, you guys are better than child. You guys are better than them. You guys are better than the people out there. But nobody brought that up. Also, there's times in life where you just have to shut up. Bible study is one of those things. Those people aren't there to make themselves feel better than anyone else. Those people are there to pray to God, and that should be respected. You go in there when they already think you're a cop and you ruin every little thing. You don't look tough by saying you'd beat up a child, especially when you wouldn't do it. You just say you would. I think it's weird when people bring stuff like that up out of nowhere, right? Like, where did that come from? Like, no one brought up child. No one. He just kind of drug it out of nowhere. And he's a substitute teacher, so he's around kids a lot. Like, where is your brain at that that's just like a thought you had? Also, dude, who cares about who you forgive and don't forgive? It's not about you. Nobody's there praying for your forgiveness. They're praying to God. They're praying to their God. And if you want to believe what you believe, and if you think that at the end of life, repenting for your sins will give you access to your heaven, then sure, that's not my business. That's not Robert's business.
And you know what? When God sees me, they'll say, thank you for helping the children of the world.
You have to understand that you are not any better than the person next to you. You don't know them. You don't know their story. You don't know what happened. You don't know them. You should shut up there. You're not any better than the person next to you. And if you're going to take away people's time praying to say, God would thank me for doing this, and make yourself seem righteous and make yourself seem like some sort of hero, you're just wasting everybody's time and making yourself look super suspicious. I went to a camp for a week. It was not a church camp, but it was on a church campgrounds. And some of the counselors were from the actual church camp. And one of them took us out into the woods, sat us all down, and then told us about his porn addiction. I was 14. Also accidentally swore my life to God. It was on a church camp, right? And so they were having like Bible study. And my cousin was also at camp with me and a lot of my friends because it was a school thing, right? And they were going and I just didn't question it. I was like, cool, whatever. So I do not have the ability to pay attention. And so at some point, everybody puts their heads down and like closes their eyes. And so I go, okay. And I zone out for a solid like 3 minutes. And I open my eyes and half the people are like this with their hands raised. And so I go, and the person at the front holding his Bible open goes, I want you all to look up and open your eyes. If you have your hand raised, I want you to come and stand by me. And I go, okay. So I walk up there. I'm standing in line, right? There's like 20 of us now. And he starts preaching about how we've all just promised our lives to God. And I was like, oh, that's stupid. And my cousin walks up to me crying. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, you're going to do so good. That's also just a respect thing. Like, if you're going to walk into their prayer circle and they're all going to hold hands, you need to shut up and hold their hands. I don't care what reason you have. I don't care if you think their hands are dirty. I don't care if you're afraid of germs. I don't care if you're Howie Mandel and you have a prolapse anus and you're afraid of germs. You hold their hands and you shut up. It's a respect thing. And if you're going to preach about how the people in here, including yourself, are better than child, then you need to be able to respect them as people. And that includes holding their hands when they pray. And the reason he does that, it's not because he's afraid of germs or because like it scares him for whatever reason. It's because he has a hierarchy in his head about who these people are and who he is. He is the person that God would thank for doing something. They're not. They're just random inmates and they're in jail. And that's a free ride. And that's this luxurious vacation. They're leeches to him. You guys remember Howie Mandel's prolapsed anus? Apparently you're supposed to put sugar on it. Oh. The guy next to him is like, okay, fine. fist. Like, you could have just done that. You could have fist bumped both of the people next to you. But no, you're better than them.
You guys are better than child.
Again, it's just a respect thing. Like, respect the space enough to be quiet in it. You don't know why anyone else is in there. You don't know what they've done. You don't know what they haven't done. You don't know what they've been through. You have to just shut up. You are wasting people's time telling them they're better than anyone else. That's not what they're there for. They're there to pray. You're there to pray for your forgiveness of yourself and for the people around you. You're not there to judge anyone. And that's all he ever does, is he judges people. He judges everyone except for himself. And he is so much worse than any of these people. Also, completely out of nowhere. Like, where does that come from?
We're not, though. We're all sinners.
An inmate saying we're not, though we're all sinners, is exactly what he should have just taken as a sign to shut up. Like, they're not there to compare themselves to anyone else. They're not there to say, I'm a better person than you. You deserve worse than I have. They're just there to pray. They're there to spend their time with their God in the way that they know how to. And that's it. That's it. Like, I don't know how many more times to say that before it's just like redundant. You're going to waste your own time sitting around telling yourself that you're better than anyone else. Focus on yourself.
Whatever you do, don't get into a fight.
Immediately after the Bible study, a lot of the inmates gather around and are like, what do we want to do about him, right? Because he seems like a cop. He's going around talking about child molestation. He's being super weird and aggressive. And people don't like that. People are not going to respond well to that. So they're like, what do we want to do about him? Robert senses this. Robert's just dumb, but he can tell when people as a whole are plotting against him because they're all probably staring at him. And so Robert goes, I told myself one thing, don't get in a fight. And then he goes in a fight or flight mode, which is, how do I get myself out of here? So what he's going to do now, which I mentioned earlier, is he's going to cover one of the cameras because he knows that he's in trouble. And here's the thing, right? When the warden comes out and the warden goes, why'd you do that? All Robert has to say is, I got scared. And the warden would be like, I can see why. Instead, Robert goes, I want to show them that I'm one of them. But you've done a really good job of showing them that you're not. You act like a cop. You have no sense of self-awareness. You interrupted Bible study multiple times to bring up ideas people told you to stop talking about. It's not that hard to just shut up. We also have to talk about the idea that, like, everybody came in here with a combined purpose, right? Whatever your own intentions for applying to be on the show are, you were tasked with finding out things about the jail for the warden so that the warden can make it a better place for everyone. This includes how inmates are bringing in drugs. This includes how the inmates are treated. This includes food. This includes the way that people sleep. This includes all these little things that they're not going to get from their employees that they would like to get from an inmate. Robert completely abandons that idea and makes the show about himself. I understand that you went in there with the idea of, like, I'm going to prove that jail is too easy. Robert came in with this idea that he was going to prove that jail is just too easy. I understand that. I do. It has to be a smaller task than the one that you're given. Robert came on the show to waste time. That's it. He did not do what he was asked to do, and even his own little goal of being like, jail is too easy, immediately goes down. He walks in and he's like, oh, I don't belong here. I'm scared. But he's not going to say that. He's going to pretend that he's big. He's going to pretend that he's strong. He's going to pretend that he understands the world around him. He doesn't. I would feel a little bad for him if he came in and he was like, oh, I was wrong. But he continues to get worse. And he doesn't learn anything. He doesn't learn anything the entire time he's on the show.
I'm not a police officer. And putting the towel over the camera, I thought would help.
So that's exactly what he does. He goes, oh, I'm not a cop. Would a cop do this? How do you do, fellow kids? Puts a towel over the camera. But that's exactly what a cop would do, right? Because none of the inmates have done that. None of them. And they even try to stop him. And so I really don't know what Robert believes about himself. I don't know that if he truly believes he's big and strong and, like, capable of being in any situation, and he just doesn't have a sense of self-awareness, or if he's just afraid to admit that he was scared. Because to the rest of us, to the inmates, to the warden, to me, to the other people watching, we go, oh, Robert was scared. Obviously, makes sense. He can hear people talking about how they're going to beat him. So he gets scared, knows that if he puts a towel over a camera, he's going to get put in solitary confinement. And now he doesn't have to be around them.
Get up.
The only two people who know, in terms of staff, who the 6 inmates are, I think it's 6. It's been a while. That have volunteered to come in are the warden and the second in command. I don't remember what he's called. Sheriff, maybe. The other workers don't know. So the correctional officers have no idea. They just think they're an inmate, which becomes a problem in one of the later seasons when, like, Somebody gets Googled.
Just so it looks like I'm not a cop, I started putting that towel on the camera. Was that a good choice?
No.
No.
The rule you broke of placing something on the camera or tampering with our cameras is a very serious rule.
Yeah.
And you have received 30 days in segregation now.
So the warden puts him in 30 days of segregation. That's a waste of time. You're only there for 2 months, and 1 month of your time is not going to be spent alone. You're not helping anyone. Your entire job is to come in and help the warden figure out what's wrong with the jail. You can't do that when you're alone. But the warden can't be like, oh, you messed up, go back, because that looks suspicious. And they're like, what's happening here? And it can't be like, I'm just going to move you to a different pod so that nobody thinks that's weird. Because the workers, the correctional officers, also don't know who these people are. So if he gets moved to a different pod without having been put in segregation, the correctional officers are going to go, oh, that's weird. Who is this guy?
It's like an all-inclusive vacation. Some people call it the whole, I call it the meditation retreat.
A weekend of solitary, he's going nuts. A weekend of solitary, he's still refusing to take any of this seriously. Again, he's wasting time here. He was asked to go into the general population for 2 months to figure out how to make the jail better. He got scared to put himself to solitary for half of that time. A week in, he's writing unhinged poems. He's calling it meditation retreat still. I'm going to assume, pretending that he's fine and that he enjoys it and that he's on vacation. I get it, dude. You were wrong. I get it. You came in and you were like, oh, jail is too easy. And day one, it was too hard. All you have to do is say that. The thing is, everybody around you can see it. Everybody around you can see that you're soft and small and that you need help. You're the only one that can't, and that doesn't make you strong. That makes you annoying.
The food here is so good. I mean, really, whoever is that culinary French chef in the kitchen. I feel fantastic. I usually like to work out, because I'm single, so I have to wait till I get married before I let myself go.
Okay.
Once he finally gets out of solitary, he has to meet with the therapist to make sure that he's not gone. And he tells the therapist, I had such a great time. I called it a meditation retreat. I got to read. I worked out to keep myself in shape because I can't let myself go until I'm married. I'm single. Ha 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 ha. How do we keep finding these people? Switch them. Give me Lauren on 60 Days In and Robert on 90 Day Fiancé. I wonder why he's single. The only person who doesn't realize why he's single is him.
When I told Robert he had to go back to general population, he literally had a look of fear in his eyes.
I'm disappointed.
2 months, your whole job is to be in jail to try and make it better. So if the warden goes, congrats, you made it through your little meditation retreat, it's time for you to go back to general population. And Robert, instead of being like, oh, thank God, I won't put the camera back on. I won't put the towel back on the camera. My bad, G. He goes, are you sure? I don't know. I'm giving you so much valuable information about solitary. Do you know there was 4 walls in there? Nuts.
Hey, I need someone to help me back.
So he's going to be put back in the general population into a different pod. So not with any of the same people he was just with, another room, essentially. And immediately Robert goes, oh no. Ow, ow, help, ouch. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm not gonna make it. Oh, all right, tell my mom I hate her. Okay. And the warden's like, oh no, what's happening here? And he goes, dude, I'm having a tummy ache. And I was trying to be so brave about it, but I couldn't. And so Robert's like, I'm constipated. Can't poop, can't go back to general population. General population, haha. Anyway, you're better than child. And so they start giving him cranberry juice, laxatives, anything to get him to go. And he's just like, not working. Ow. Other side, by the way. Other side. Does the other side. And they're like, you sure? And he's like, yeah, I just darn, I really wanted to go back. So the warden's like, all right, here's what's going to happen, dude. I don't believe you, but I'm going to believe you. If you tell me you're too sick, I'm kicking you out. I'm taking you to the hospital. And you're not coming back. And then Robert goes, no. I don't need to go to the hospital. It's okay. I'll be fine. Oh, take me to the hospital.
I may need to go to the hospital.
He's released from the hospital after 4 hours. 4 hours. All right. 4. And the next time we see him is him sitting down with the warden, the captain, and I think, again, I don't remember this dude's title, Captain Chair. And they talk to him and they're like, okay, cool. You didn't make it all the way through, but we're hoping that you still have some sort of information for us. What did you think?
It was easier than I thought. Well, that was a cotton candy cream puff situation. I thought it was a reward. It was a sheer treat.
Also, it's been a day. He was released from the hospital. The very next day, they got together to meet. And the captain asks, how do we go from you rolling around on the floor, crying, saying you need to go to the hospital, to today, 12 hours later, saying, oh, it was so easy. Could have done it again. You could have put me in there for 2 years, bro. So simple. It was a treat.
You know what? The power of pain meds.
What pain medications are you on?
No comment, but it's not crystal meth.
I don't need you to defend yourself.
You're so wrong.
Yeah, so Robert goes, you know what? The power of pain meds. I'm so good. They ask him what pain meds he got. He goes, no comment. No comment. And they go, okay, well, this is what actually happened, right? The inmates tested you in the same way they test everyone else, and you got scared. And he goes, oh, you're so wrong, dude. It was so easy. Also, you have to notice the way that he like overemphasizes all of his movements, everything he says, right? He's incapable of being a person in this space. And so he has to superimpose his own thoughts onto yours because he knows that he's wrong. And so he can't be right. He has to be louder. So if you're in the middle of telling him that he's wrong, he's going to yawn super loudly, lean back, make sure that you know he's unfazed. Even when he is.
Here, come here, let me show you some more. This is part of my ceramics collection. I love making sculptures.
We learned that Robert isn't somebody who makes art. I struggle to call him an artist. I'm going to show you what that art looks like, and I want you to guess what it is based on. I want you to guess what he uses for inspiration based on what his ceramic sculptures look like.
And everywhere you look, there are sculptures, and more sculptures.
Any ideas? Crying children? That would make a lot of sense. So many holes, you're getting closer.
Who needs friends when you have sculptures? I'm fascinated with the female figure, and the 9 months of pregnancy is the evolution of life within a woman's tummy.
I'm fascinated by the female figure and the 9 months of life as the evolution of the female tummy. Robert, who is single, a substitute teacher, incapable of self-awareness, who has grandiose ideas of himself, is fascinated by the pregnant female tummy. And that's what inspires his ceramic sculptures. Sculptures? Listen, dude, English is my second language. I don't know precisely what crime he's going to commit, but I feel like it's coming. I feel like he has to have bodies somewhere. Maybe not human bodies yet, but bodies somewhere.
I made a sculpture of my face. That's a real Robert.
That's the real Robert. Afraid of the world, obsessed with the pregnant tummies.
I love it.
I don't like that he's making out with himself, but it makes sense. Robert continues to work as a substitute teacher. Imagine getting this guy as your sub after watching this show. Like, no respect. Absolutely not. This man walks into my class and he's like, hey, I'm your substitute teacher. First thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing a towel and I'm covering the camera. Let's compile the red flags, right? The art, whatever, it's weird. I'm going to say it's weird, but I'm not going to say it's a red flag. The opinions he has of himself, substitute teacher, I think is a red flag. You will not convince me otherwise. Obsessed with bringing up child. What is that about? Around children as a job brings up child a lot. What is happening? Now we're going to take a look at the end of the season where they bring together the captain, the other people who are on the show voluntarily, and Robert. And they let them talk.
Now, because of Robert's attitude during training, Tammy and Zach had their doubts about him completing the program.
Uncomfortable laugh. So they flash back to a scene where they're all being trained, right? Before any of them are put in handcuffs or into the jail. And Robert is sitting there going, oh, I have questions. Yeah, how big is the TV? And the warden goes, or the trainer goes, whoever it was goes, 72 inches. I don't remember the number. And then Robert goes, oh, that's pretty big. Thank you, taxpayers. A couple of things here, right? One, he's not taking it seriously. He's just not taking it seriously. Second, he's already setting himself above other people. They don't deserve a TV. They're inmates. You don't know anything about them. You don't know how many of them are there for real offenses. You don't know how many of them are there because they're being targeted. You don't know how many of them are there for dumb reasons, like they didn't pay a parking ticket or because they had a little bit of pot on them. You don't know anything about anyone. And so before you put yourself above other people, consider just shutting up.
I understand that you guys actually had a bet about Robert.
Yes, we did. I bet him to not last more than 3 weeks.
They ended up putting a bet on how long he would last there, which, unsurprisingly, nobody said he'd make it all the way through. They said 3 weeks or 5 weeks. I don't think solitary should count. Yeah, there it is. Same brain jinx.
I don't care if people doubt me. I could bale hay with the best of them, and there is not absolutely any quit in me. So anyone who questions my toughness, well, you're wrong.
If he had said that at the beginning, if he had said, hey, there's no quit in me. If anyone questions my toughness, they're wrong. I'm gonna make it through the next 2 months. Okay. Yeah. But he says this with so much unearned confidence, knowing he quit. If I ever go to jail, if I'm ever in prison, I'm gonna get so good at chess. So good. So good. I'm already good. I would be so good.
I was sick, and I was forced to drop out after 5 weeks. You in the bed.
All of his movements are so robotic too.
And I was forced to drop out after 5 weeks. You in the bed.
I was forced to drop out, not, oh no, my back's shunny. But he's like, hey, weren't you holding the other side? Oh, hold on. Oh no, I can't poop. Help me. This guy, like, dude, come on, dude. There's so many people on the show who have dropped out for no reason, right? They were scared on day one. One person I understood very well because he got back spasms a lot and he could not sleep on the cot. Like he slept on the first day and then it was like, I literally can't move. Like my spine is frozen. I need to get out of here. Sucks, wasted a spot, but like, I get it. Some people went in day one and they were like, I wasn't ready to be alone, just crying.
Check out this handsome face, still intact. The visuals speak for himself that I didn't have any problems with inmates.
We just watched this, right? We were there. The reason that Robert got out of there without getting hurt was because he got scared about getting hurt and he got himself put in solitary confinement. And before he was able to be put back into general population with other people, he said, hold on. Oh, I can't, get me out of here. Oh, I don't want to go. I need to go to the hospital though. Oh. I need a different voice for Robert.
Robert, you're going to hear for the first time what the inmates were actually saying about you.
Oh, this is going to be real good.
Again, his mannerisms are just like so inhuman. We're about to show you all the things that people around you were saying, all the times people were threatening you and coming up with plans to hurt you because they thought you were a cop. And he goes, oh yeah, fantastic. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't pull out like a bucket of popcorn and then dental floss. And then starts lecturing everyone about how they don't floss enough. That's at you.
Robert, after seeing the footage
Yes.
and seeing what the inmates were saying about you, does it change your perspective on how they viewed you?
No.
Dude, Robert could redeem himself so easily. He could just be like, you know what? I was trying to pretend like it wasn't happening, but I could see now that some of the inmates were looking to hurt me. And I'm glad I got out of there when I did. And everyone would be like, yeah, yep, that makes sense. But instead he goes, no, dude, I'm a pretty big guy. What are they going to do?
I took off my jump suit and kind of tied around my waist because I'm a pretty big guy. Because I thought that there's some guys out there that may want to fight me. And I use that just in case. It's kind of like, well, if they did want to fight me, at least it looks like I'm in shape.
But he's not. And he actually might be the smallest person of those four. Like him and the host are kind of the same size, but like, I think the host is just more fit.
Bring him on.
Like he talks like he learned how to be a person from a children's cartoon. And he starts a bit of an argument with the other two, right? Because the other guy there goes, I don't think Robert's taking this seriously. I'm not taking him seriously. Like he just doesn't get what's going on here. He's sat here and he's trying to laugh about it and he's pretending that it's all sunshine and rainbows. And Robert's like, it is all sunshine and rainbows. I had so much fun. And then the woman goes, Did you? Because you just sat in solitary for 5 weeks. Some of us were actual inmates. And he was like, no, I was too. And she's like, no, you sat in solitary for 5 weeks alone because you were scared of everyone else. Again, that's just like not real, right? Like nobody moves like this. He's a reptilian.
This is the single most disappointing day of my entire life.
Brother, I gotta tell you, I don't know when your birthday is or how old you are, but that day, that many years ago, was the single most disappointing day in your parents' life. You came into this world just to take up space. Congratulations.
Anyone who thinks I'm faking it, one, did they know how much medication I took? What type of medication I took? Make your judgment after you gather the information.
But then when he's asked what medication he took, he goes, no comment. So no, the information we have is that you were afraid and so you left. Happened multiple times. Congrats.
Robert's danced around many questions. When you ask him, he goes off on a tangent to try to lose face of what the question really was.
Mr. Maple Syrup, you wouldn't understand, but
He just like randomly makes a fat joke. Like, brother, what? Like, what is with you and like being obsessed with putting other people down? Like, stop putting yourself so far above everyone else. You're the one here that's wasting space.
You are saying you wanted to go back to the general population after segregation, correct?
I did say that.
We need to keep that in mind. He's saying, I did want to go back. I did. Oh, I did. Oh, but I can't. But I did. I didn't want to go. I wanted to go back. Because we're about to get a letter that we did not see on the show. We're about to read a letter that he wrote while in solitary, okay? Like if nothing convinces you that he just is faking all this, that he's like, oh no, I'm big, but like in his head he knows he's scared, it's gonna be this letter.
Captain Maples, do you have
Yeah, I do.
the letter with you, and will you read it?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Captain Maples.
It's gonna get copyright struck if I leave it in, so this is what it is. He writes a letter to the captain. It says Captain Maples. He starts the letter, Mr. Captain Maples, like a teenager writes, or like a teenager goes, the interwebs. You're not 14, right? You're not quirky. You're an adult. Mr. Captain Maples is such a weird thing to write out. Yes, exactly. He's the kind of guy who takes being tweeted equally as an affront. Mr. Captain Maples. Firstly, I would like to apologize for my mistake in Pod 3D. For interfering with the camera. I'm requesting to stay in solitary confinement. If you must move me back after 30 days, I understand. As I don't have a choice, I just prefer to maintain a low profile and not cause waves and be a model inmate. Sincerely,
Robert Harris, number 235276.
So he writes a letter saying, hey, don't put me back there. I'm scared. I'm in danger. But every time he's spoken to, every time he's on camera, he goes, no, I would have never said that. Like, look how big I am. They're afraid of me.
Yes, I loved the meditation retreat down there for 30 days. It was sheer paradise.
This ends with the captain going, here are my thoughts. Obviously, he wrote this letter and he doesn't want to be here. I'm not going to argue with him. And then he apologizes to Zach and Tammy for having wasted their time and for acting like what they're talking about now may be a reflection on what they did. It's not. They did a good job. They were there for the right reasons and stayed the whole time. I've watched every season of this show, and though I don't remember all of them perfectly, I remember Robert. And I remember how little I care for him and how little of a person I think he is. He is not someone who understands the respect you should have for other people. He gives me the vibe of shaking your hand and going, I'll respect you when you've earned my respect, but then expects you to respect him. Immediately. He's that dude who like walks by a bunch of people at the park playing basketball and thinks he could walk in and be better than them. He's that dude who does think he's better than other people. Not for any right that he's earned, but more so that he just puts himself and his perceived intellect above everyone else. He probably thinks his art is really good. He probably thinks he makes a difference as a substitute teacher. He probably thinks that he still somehow came out of there looking like the good guy. He wasted everybody's time, and it didn't even make the season more enjoyable. It really, like, this isn't even that great of a show, I think. It's fine. I watched so much of it, but I watch a lot of trash TV. And all Robert did was waste time. If you cut out him completely, it doesn't change the show all that much. It just makes you feel less angry. There are times in life when you do not have enough information to say anything, and so you shouldn't. This is one of those times. Robert is a substitute teacher who has never made a difference for anyone ever. So he's going to come in. First thing he's going to say is, you guys got the NFL Network here. He's going to come in with a righteous, better than everyone else attitude, and it immediately turns bad for him. He's that guy who's never going to take criticism because he takes everything as an attack. You don't know better than he does. You're not smarter than him. You're not bigger than him. You're not better than him. In fact, he's all of those over you. He's smarter, bigger, faster, better. He could have been in the NFL if he didn't get constipated. He would have been a first-round draft pick. He would have gone second overall and made your first pick look like a bust. He was the Calvin Johnson to your Jamarcus Russell. So before we move on, Robert. There's people saying that he seemed like a predator and that he went overseas to teach after this. To teach second grade. I'm so scared for the kids he teaches. So Robert, third grade teacher, Vince School, taught in Vietnam from September 2018 to 2018, teaching third grade. Hold on. Specialties and skills, comedy. Anyone think he was funny? Football. He's a pretty big guy. Art. If you're a pregnant woman, he can make a sculpture for you. Writing. Dear Mr. Captain Maples. Teaching in English. Yeah, probably. Like, that's wild. The first four? What a mess. Hobbies, art. I traveled the world teaching art to orphans. But only orphans. You have parents? I don't want you to tell them about me. So get out of here.